Hey everyone, Brenton or Cranky here, whatever you want to call me. The guy with the horrible videos. Looks is pretty much just a CBA update, really, about the negotiations between the NHL and the NHLPA that we've obviously heard a bazillion things about in the last few days. Just a quick note: gameplay is between myself and a friend of mine who's in my GM Connected League. He pretty much told me not to use that footage, so of course that's the first thing I did. I think I got a classic jersey for Boston. Some sort of classic jersey. There we go. Yeah, something classic. Yeah, there we go. Classic bronze. Looks alright. Something a bit funky. And here goes the old Mighty Ducks jersey. Anyway, enough about that. So we're pretty much at the stage here where we're looking like, for the first time in a long while, NHL fans can actually rejoice to the fact that there may be a season. There's actual some traction here. That has happened. So pretty much at the end of last week, Bettman said to Fear, this isn't working. Let's get the NHL players in. We'll get a few owners in. We'll change the perspective of the deal. We'll change the perspective of the talks and get some fresh faces in. I can't imagine the talks would be much different with those people. But I'd have a feeling that it obviously has something to do with the Pittsburgh Penguins living on their lonely island. Pat Brissell, I think that's how you say it, Brissell, is the agent for Sidney Crosby. Now, he's at the meetings with his friend from Los Angeles, and Burkle, and Lemieux, and of course Crosby. And they seem to be the driving force behind this. So, I mean, whether they got all together, all of them got together and have kind of, said, well, this is the way we're going to do things. We're going to try get some sort of deal. I think Flyers also tried to do something similar to this a few weeks ago. I didn't quite get the traction. I also think that the owners, I've heard many rumours that the owners have had pretty much told Bettman he can do what he wants until December 1st, and in which case then we need to start getting a deal, because I don't think the owners want to scrub a season. The players don't obviously want to scrub a season because that's a whole mess of paychecks that they're just going to miss out on. And yeah, so pretty much it does look pretty promising, to the point where, if you're from Canada, you've obviously watched, the hockey, Sportsnet 590. If you watch their usual show, the Hockey Central at noon, you saw them scrambling because they were going to pretty much have a TV show from their studio straight after that at 1 o'clock, and that's when their show finishes. I think they ran over and were settled within 3 minutes, and they had to start a new show pretty much because Gary Bettman was about to address the media. It seemed like he was going to say something big, and then he got up there and he said all of the characteristics that could be used in a Twitter tweet, pretty much saying, I respect the process, I'm happy with it. And that's about it, really. He didn't really divulge any information, didn't say anything like that. Had this real smug, arrogant look about him. Oh man, Chara can shoot the puck, honey. He had this real smug, arrogant look about him at the end there, and there was no need for him to do that. And it was this scramble inside the media room. It was a scramble. Everyone's trying to get position, thinking, that the 1% chance that he might be like, yeah, no, a deal's done. Obviously, it's not. We've had 1 day of good talks, 2 days now. I believe they're talking at the moment, which is always helpful. When right now it is 6 p.m. Normal American time. I have no idea what the times in. I think it's standard time. Whatever it is in Pittsburgh, we'll go with that. So it's not too bad at the moment, and they're still talking, which is great to see that there's actually there's actual meetings happening, actual negotiations. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I was so sick of the fact that they bitch about billions of dollars on the line and they give a shit about the game, and then meetings would go for 40 minutes and they'll just screw around the whole time and you wouldn't hear anything positive out of it. And then at the end of the meeting, they'll interview Donald Fear and they'll interview Gary Bettman, and it's just the same thing. Oh, we're still far apart. No new news. We can't talk about this. We can't talk about that. Some snarky comment on the side there. Then they'll start new negotiations after a week of doing nothing, and then one of them would say some snarky bullshit just to just to get under the other one's skin, and it just went downhill from there. Like, there was a lot of hate for a while, and then obviously this idea has sort of come forth. Whether Bettman's involved in this deal in any way is another story, but yeah, I wonder how the players feel about Crosby, because I get the feeling like he's kind of like, I mean, he's obviously been talking to owners, and owners were kind of told not to talk to any players. Can't believe Marchand didn't score there. Owners were pretty much told not to talk to players, so I don't know how Crosby, without getting permission outside of ownership, was invited to, the charter plane with Burkle and things like that. I mean, obviously Sidney Crosby. But yeah, to be honest, I think the agent is the person to really, have a clap for. He was the one. I mean, obviously agents have had a bit of a role the last few weeks, and whether all of them have got together and have kind of nominated him as the go-to guy. I would say there would be something on those lines. They would have come up with some sort of idea, a few of them. I'm not saying every agent's together, like scheming behind with a crystal ball in front of them going, how are we going to stop this lockout? Even though every fan probably wouldn't mind some sort of scheme like that. I'm just glad that they're actually talking, to the point where Nick Kiprasov, Kiprasov, or what? How do you ever say his name? From Hockey Central said that coaches have been in touch with their players, saying get ready to come back for training camp very soon. So that kind of suggests that there is a deal on the horizon, whether it's the next few days or the next few weeks. I mean, I'm at a real crossroads here, because I reckon there's a 50-50 chance there's a deal to be done in the next week or two. But if a deal doesn't get done in the next week or two, what does that mean? Does that mean no season now? Does that mean we stop what we're doing? I mean, how do we move forward if there is no traction from these talks? Because we've got to a real positive point, but one point or another we're going to get to submit a deal. Come on, NHLPA, submit another deal. And if they submit a deal like last time, there's no season. There's absolutely no season. That deal last time was, I can't believe he scored on that. I made a few screw-ups in this game. It really pissed me off. I played pretty well, but anyway, we'll move on from that. Oh man, see, I went on a tangent and then I forgot what I was doing. Isn't that great YouTubing right there? So I mean, if 2 weeks time there's no deal done, there's just, I can't imagine that we'll get anywhere. I would say there'll be no season, pretty much, to the point of that. Like, it's just, there'd be that much hate there. But I mean, the NHLPA last time said, we moved heaps. The first year, they went down from 57% to 56.5%. Now, if you heard all about lockout, then you know all about it. By the way, that goal there is a perfect example of just shooting it at the net. If you see, I don't know if the replay will pick it up, but from the blue line, I just do a little shitty shot. It makes it there for the pass, and then it ends up being a goal. So if you've got to turn it over in the forward zone, just shoot it. So I mean, sometimes good things happen from it. Anyway, so we'll continue on before I go on another tangent. Forget what I'm talking about. So the last time they offered, pretty much 86.5% in the first year. Now, that's rubbish. Like, we understand that it is going to be, because the owners signed those shit contracts, that it is going to go down. It's not going to be 50-50 to start off with. It's going to be, 54. If they went 54, 53, 52, and then had 5 years at 50-50, I reckon they, barring a few other things, it would have been a lot closer. But instead, the NHLPA put down a 5-year deal, which ends on the 100th anniversary of the National Hockey League. Now, of course, that pretty much just has player strike written all over it, because the owners aren't going to lock the team out on the 100th year. Well, you'd think they wouldn't. So, and who wants a 5-year deal? Who wants to deal with this bullshit 5 years from now? I mean, I'm so sick of lockouts. I mean, in probably 8 years from now, when this deal's done, there'll be another lockout. It's just the way. It's just rinse and repeat. So I don't understand why, besides the, obviously ending at that year, don't make a 5-year deal. I mean, it's almost as bad as that shitty offer that the NHL first offered, the 43%, which in hindsight was a smart move, because then when they bring it up to 50%, it looks like they're actually giving something back, where, technically they're taking away 7%, but it looks a lot better than 43%. It, of course, pissed some people off, but I mean, that's what Bettman does. And yeah, I mean, in all this, the one person I feel sorry for is Gary Bettman, and no, I'm completely alone on this. But Bettman has a way that he wants the league to be set out. Oh, that's a goal. He can't leave that much space for Lucic. Bettman wanted a way to set out the league, and that is to get rid of these bullshit contracts. So I'm talking your Kovalchuks, pretty much anyone the Flyers sign for long periods of time, and then trade them away, no problems at all. I don't understand that team. Orange jerks. I'm a Pens fan, so I guess I have to hate them. But, and then, obviously Minnesota. He wanted to get rid of those shit contracts, and I don't blame him. Like, I mean, they're rubbish. They cheat the system to a point, so I think he scores here. No. Oh yeah, that's right. Look at this goal. It's rubbish. Like, I don't understand Tim Thomas. I mean, I know he needs that year off, but I don't understand what happens. Anyway, you take a look and just see it. Like, bobbles out when he puts his hand back behind, I'm pretty sure. See, look at, and it just bobbles out. Yeah. Anyway, NHL 13 for you. So yeah. So it's just I don't feel. Yeah, so anyway, Bettman, is obviously trying to get rid of those contracts. Sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent again. Bettman's trying to get rid of those contracts, and then every team signs up, like the Wild, Boston. They just sign up every one of these long-term deals. And, the owners are saying one moment, because Bettman does work for the owners. They players to a point, mostly to keep the owners happy. And the players go, all right, so we're going to sign up all these players, piss off the players, and then you have to get the best deal possible. It doesn't work that way. And Bettman has done a lot for the game. If you've read the book, The Instigator, it's a book on Gary Bettman and what he does for the league, and I highly recommend it. I was not a Bettman fan for a very long time, till probably I read that book, and I see his point of view of things. I mean, he's still an arrogant, smug jerk. I mean, we all see that. And let's face it, if I was ever there for a Game 7 and the cup was coming out, I think it's just except the Kings dropped the ball on this one. It's pretty much just religion to boo Bettman. It's just what happens. So I'm not sure what happened to the Kings there. I think they should lose their Stanley Cup just because they didn't boo Bettman. I think their fans, they obviously deserve their Stanley Cup. I mean, Quick and Brown had awesome years. Even Carter had a good playoff run there towards the end. So I mean, I feel sorry for Bettman. He wanted a way of the league to be played, and it just didn't end that way. And so now he has to concede, and then it just becomes bullshit, because Fear, although he's a good negotiator, is probably negotiating a bit too drastically. Then again, I don't know what's going on, so I mean, I don't do labour negotiations, but I don't know, it just seems to be every single time they get together, it just seems to fire out this like shot across the bow, just to piss the NHL off, and then it sets up the week. That's the week. Fantastic, and I mean, at the start when the NHL put their proposal through, it took them something like a week to reply to it, and they needed all the paper and HRR and all this other rubbish. And then the last proposal the NHL put through, it took them a day to reject it. So I don't understand. Does it take 7 days to reject it, or one? Like, it seems to be, there was definite stalling going on there. Look at that. Diving poke check, turnover, goal. And that's just another shitty play that ends in a goal. And that's the, turnovers. That's how you play this game. So yeah, it was just that. But anyway, so there's a lot of good news coming out that there will be a season. In some other, like, just small news, the play-by-play announcer of the Kings died at age 52, which is sad. He was extremely happy about the Kings winning in the Stanley Cup, and obviously because of the lockout he misses the banner raising, really. But I mean, 52. That's just young, you know. So, I mean, that's sad. To the point. A few bits of other news that happened a few weeks ago in the league before I go back onto the CBA negotiations is that mostly there was a retirement. Pascal Leclerc, I don't know if you guys know him, he was drafted pretty high up by the Blue Jackets, and he was a really good player to start off with, and then a few injuries have sort of caught up to him, and unfortunately he had to retire. So, you know, there's a few lockout victims here thus far. Timo Solani is apparently reviewing whether he'll play next year, and he's opening himself a restaurant, some sort of like bar and grill place. I wonder if that will be popular. I'd just go there just because it's owned by Timo Solani, I think. But yeah, I've lost my train of thought now. But yeah, so we'll go back to the CBA, obviously. So today there was meant to be a deal handed forth to the owners before the governors' meeting, which another good sign is that the governors' meeting, they didn't talk about their exit strategy when it comes to shutting down the season. They talked about how many games they wanted to play, so 60, less than 60, 50 plus sort of thing, and it seems to be that around the 55, 58 mark seems to be the way to go for them. I can't believe I let him get that breakaway. So, I mean, that's good. I mean, obviously we would have rather played, you know, the 82 game season, but it's still nice. It's still nice to have a season, obviously, and then get to the playoffs. I'm hoping the Penguins actually do something this year. So, I mean, there's just a lot of positivity coming out of these negotiations, which is something we have not seen in a while. I mean, how many times have you heard, oh, we're too far apart, we're this, we're that, and now we're talking, coaches are calling players over in Europe saying you might need to come back in the next few days because we'll be starting training camp, which is a excellent sign. Where if it's true, I mean, if it's true, then that's another story. But yeah, I'm really hopeful that there's an agreement there, and I was very negative for a while there, but I'm at this 50-50 crossroads where I think a deal will get done in either 2 weeks, or there might not be a season. It's kind of like that sort of crossroads again, because if in 2 weeks a deal isn't made, that means they're too far apart. They're just not going to be able to get there, and it's a shame. It's a real shame, actually, if that is the case, because I mean, we obviously want to see hockey, and that's pretty much it, really. Like, I'm trying to think, is there any more news really out there? No, not really. Well, I mean, if you want more news on hockey, there's other places that do it a lot better than me. Hockey Central's for one. Merrick vs. Wisniewski, the podcast, does a lot better than me. Here's a few stats, and that's pretty much